Welcome back to another episode of 40 Facts About the 40K Universe. I am your host Gershwin and you are watching One Mind Syndicate. Today we continue talking about the Imperial Guard regiments as we get into the Scintillan Fusiliers. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. We post Warhammer 40K content every single day, and if you have any suggestions, just comment down below. But with that said, let's get into 40 facts on the Scintillan Fusiliers. The Scintillan Fusiliers are a highly unusual Imperial Guard regiment composed of the sons and daughters of the noble families of the hive world of Scintilla, the capital world of the Calixis sector. While most regiments of the Astra Militarum recruit from the lower classes of hive worlds, or draft from all but the upper echelons of Imperial society, the Scintillan Fusiliers are the best and brightest that the planet has to offer. These noble men and women rarely enlist out of some sense of duty to the Imperium, the God Emperor, or even their homeworld. Instead, most have self-serving aspirations behind their choice to take up the life of a soldier. For some, it is a form of rebellion, a way to get back at their overbearing parents for the numerous offenses heaped upon their children. For others, it is simply out of amusement, a way to pass the time and avoid the dullness of the Scintillan Salon society. In their eyes, it is a chance to have adrenaline-pumping adventures that might put them at fatal risk. Some are also second or third sons and daughters, children with little to inherit in the twisted web of the Scintillan noble society. They would much rather risk their lives than live in the shadows of their older siblings. These individuals often aspire to make a name for themselves within the ranks of the Astra Militarum, away from their family name. They see the regiment as a way to further their political or social goals, and to gain wealth and glory on their own. Their hope is an eventual high-paid and respected administration position as a general officer with a noble title, a staff, and a generous salary from the Departamental Minitorum. Whatever their reasons, there are precious few among the Scintillan Fusiliers who see their duty as anything but a means to an end. The regiments are rarely deployed far from Scintilla, and when they are, it is in the softest and most luxurious lodges available in theater. So pampered are these soldiers that a large portion are accompanied by a servant or other lackey to assist in the day-to-day tasks, and this also includes simple infantrymen. Officers of the Scintillan Fusiliers tend to have many servants and aides, and the regiment always travels with all of the amenities of home that can be provided by the Departamental Minitorum and their own personal purses. Because of all of this luxury, the Scintillan Fusiliers are often considered posers by other guardsmen. To the Fusiliers, the knowledge that their counterparts in other regiments see them as simply playing soldier means little to them. In their eyes, other guardsmen are socially inferior. This regiment tends to field few of the common Astra Militarum units. They consider siege work to be beneath them, suitable only for the criminals and peasants who are used to living in the dirt. And there is no glory, as far as their leaders are concerned, in light infantry and reconnaissance work. Though various regiments over the centuries have been forced by circumstance to fight in protracted sieges, close urban combats, and other such low tasks better left to servitors or even feral worlders, most of the regiments have avoided such unpleasant assignments, thanks in no small part to their close political connection to the capital city. But despite their pedigree and overflowing armories, the regiment's training extends only to what is laid down in the Imperial Infantry's uplifting primer, a standard military text laying out the most basic martial doctrines. Their training consists mostly of deep underhive hunts targeting the creatures in the depths of Scintilla's forgotten pits, and their experience has largely been in low-intensity conflicts where the regiment could bathe themselves in the greatest amount of glory for the least amount of risk. The amount of medals garnered by these regiments, while certainly impressive, is not equivalent with the amount of actual combat the regiment has seen. This has led many in the Spinward front to look skeptically at any so-called achievement made by the Fusiliers. Nevertheless, the Fusiliers continue to gain notoriety. The Scintillan 17th, called the Spireborns for obvious reasons, are a particularly famous regiment, largely for being the chosen unit of the powerful Commander-General, Palas, of the Scintillan 4th Army Group. Favored by the Commander-General, thanks to their shared heritage as scions of powerful Scintillan noble houses, and the political and business ties the Commander-General maintains amongst the Scintillan nobility, the 17th Regiment is known throughout the Imperial Guard regiments operating in the Calixis sector as the Golden Regiment. The 17th's commander An unimaginative colonel by the name of Eli Hampshire is a strict literalist when it comes to military orthodoxy. He adheres to the letter of both his orders and well-worn imperial tactic doctrines, showing little initiative and a distinct inability to interpret the nuance of the battlefield. Luckily, certain individual formations within the regiment are run by competent leaders. The head of several armored companies in the 17th Regiment have largely disregarded the colonel's ideas that the intimidation factor of an armored column and the inherent grit of the Imperial armor crews, rather than intensive training in gunnery and armored assault tactics, are all that is needed to defeat the enemies of the Imperium. In fact, the leader of the company, a major by the name of Eldon de Mol, is a staunch believer in a scientific approach to battle, and trains his tank crews thoroughly in gunnery, piloting, movement, and efficient armor tactics. He has even been accused of being an innovator, a charge bordering on heresy to some of the more orthodox Imperial Guard commanders, but his results speak for themselves, and the accolades won by the 17th Regiment's armored companies are both hard-won and well-deserved. De Mol's armored companies are equipped with a common pattern of Leman Russ tanks, but they do count amongst their ranks a small number of Leman Russ Executioners and Leman Russ Vanquishers. They even possess 2 Baneblade Super Heavy tanks, but these precious relics rarely leave the 17th Regiment's home base on Scintilla. The Fusiliers' wealth and prestige also extends to their standard issue war gear, which is by no means standard for a normal guardsman. The whole regiment wears an ornamented light carapace armor, which is generally a sign of status and is mostly worn by Imperial officers, special forces, and agents of the Inquisition. Made from molded plates of armoplast, ceramide, or other light but highly resistant material, it covers selected regions or the entire body, depending on the desired level of protection. Its lightweight is meant for units that require speed over protection, but it is chosen by the Fusiliers because of how comfortable it is compared to normal armor. On top of this light protection, the Scintillan Fusiliers are decorated in elaborate regimental dress. A tricorn hat replaces the standard issue helmet. This hat is often made from a very expensive animal hair felt, and each hat incorporates a gold or silver lace trimming with feathers. A cockade, a knot of ribbons, or other emblems decorate the front. The style serves 3 purposes. First, it shows status, as this is an ancient Terran design. Secondly, it allows the guardsmen to show off the most current fashion of their wigs. And third, the cocked hat with a folded brim is much smaller than other hats, and therefore could be easily tucked under an arm when going inside a building, where Scintillan social etiquette dictates that a gentleman remove his hat. Its side laces could also be loosened, and the sides drop down to provide better protection from the weather, sun, and rain. All Fusiliers wore a white dress shirt under a navy blue waistcoat, all tucked in to their blue and white breeches. Stylized blue gaiters are worn over their military boots. Their armor is then worn under a long coat laced with gold trim. Their neck is covered with a fancy gorget, and draped over their shoulders and chest is an ornate shoulder sash, locked into place by stylized epaulets. Their regimental dress uniform is proof enough that the Fusiliers rarely see combat, and when they do, they are as far from the front lines as possible, which is why the story of the Scintillan Fusiliers 112th Regiment, known as the Mortis Wardens, is one of the funniest in Imperial Guard history. After suffering heavy casualties, the Administratum Command ordered the 112th to merge with the embittered and understaffed 456th Katajan Jungle Fighters, the Rack Swaps. The 2 regiments were polar opposites and had a very difficult time fighting together, but they did manage to have an incredibly low number of friendly fire incidences, the lowest in the sector's history. And those were 40 facts on the Scintillan Fusiliers. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is an Imperial Guard regiment that is, of course, inspired or is drawing from the early 1800s military uniforms. So back when, England and France and America wore all these dress uniforms in the military more as a means to kind of be showboaty and not so much be practical. Because let's be honest, if you're wearing a giant red coat and you're getting fired at, it's not the smartest thing to do. But it's still an aesthetic that's interesting, and I'm pretty sure that GW chose this lore and created this aesthetic because they were trying to draw the attention of all those guys who play the historical tabletop battle games. So like the ones that try to reenact the Civil War, or they try to reenact different Napoleonic Wars, stuff like that. I don't think that most Warhammer 40K players really are drawn to this type of aesthetic. I've never seen it in any of the galleries, like on Daka or when I search online, and I've definitely never played against anybody that even has a regiment, or sorry, a unit of these guys. But it is an interesting aesthetic. I think most of the time people who play Warhammer 40K are drawn into like the gothic punk neo craziness of even the steampunk of like the Skitaris armies, but stuff like that. Not so much historical coats and all that kind of stuff. That's not to say that it wouldn't be a bad idea to create a unit of these guys. It would actually be a lot of fun trying to convert one of those historical kits with something from the Imperial Guard line. And I wonder if GW has something like that. I would have to look it up. But either way, it would be really cool if you did create a unit like this and you wanted to share it. Hit us up on Instagram. You could just at One Mind Syndicate, and then we'll see it, and then we'll put it on our Instagram if you want to show it off. It's something interesting, fun to kit bash, and the lore kind of makes sense. In every single, or in the Hives of Necromunda, there is also a clan of individuals, or a gang of individuals they come from wealth, so they're dressed pretty crazy compared to the rest of the Underhive. So it's something that makes sense, and it's pretty fun. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed this regiment, share it on Reddit or Facebook. I'm pretty sure other people will find amusement in the way that this regiment is, or they'll find it interesting and they'll try to create a whole army on their own. Actually, it would be a really smart idea if you want to put together Imperial Knights and Imperial Guard. The Scintillan Fusiliers would be a perfect regiment for you, just because whenever you're dealing with the knight houses, you're dealing with feudal society. So it's going to be an interesting combination to have the Fusiliers and an Imperial Knight. It would be like having old school 1800s military men next to a giant robot. It sounds funny, but at the same time it would be cool. If you do that, hit us up. If you have any other suggestions for other topics of Warhammer 40K, comment down below. If you want another regiment covered, also give us that regiment and we'll try to create a video for you. I'm going to put a link above that's going to take you to the playlist of all the regiments that we have already done, the Imperial Guard regiments that we've done in the past. If there's any one that you guys would like us to recreate, let us know in the comment section. But thanks so much for listening, guys, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. This was Gershwin with One Mind Syndicate, signing out.
Oh, I used to put my freedom first in any